One more higher standard of all the judgments we make through life. None are more important than the estimate we place on ourselves according to our own internal standards. I've got a mind-blowing revelation for you. There is a very high probability you're not going to reach your goals. But here is just some great news. You're absolutely guaranteed to get your standards. Yeah, that's a real truth. Fortunately, goals and standards are two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. Oh, that's a good expression. Two sides of the same coin. They're extreme, inextricably linked together. Inextricably intertwined, inextricably linked together, inextricably linked together. That means if you want the best possible chance of reaching your goals, you need to adjust to your standards, and reaching your goals will become almost automatic. Here's how. The difference between goals and standards. Many people I meet confuse goals and standards, often mistaking them as the same thing. They are not. Before you can achieve your goals, you must understand the role standards play and why they are so important. Here's the key difference. Goals start out as thoughts. They are desired outcomes that take root in your mind. Your brain either confirms these goals or they pass as fleeting thoughts. When you decide you want to achieve your goals, you create standards as means of taking those thoughts and applying actions to them. Think of standards as the performance benchmarks you're willing to tolerate. Standards are actions that propel you towards your goals. Goals effectively become byproducts of how you approach your standards. Goals without standards are empty. Goals without standards are useless. Goals without standards are empty. Goals without standards are useless. The world constantly tells you to review and upgrade your goals, which you should be doing. But the secret is to constantly review and upgrade your standards. You need to elevate what you're willing to tolerate and not tolerate. What are you willing to tolerate? When you set a goal, you must decide if you can tolerate the standards that are essential to reach your goals. Tolerance doesn't apply only to the things you need to do to move your life forward. Your tolerance level can apply to many different areas, such as your existing relationships, leadership, and the business dealings. Right now, can you tolerate the business results you're currently getting? Can you tolerate the amount of money you currently make? Can you tolerate the amount of bliss or passion you currently experience? If you can, you're going to keep getting them. It's only when you decide that you can no longer tolerate the treatment you're getting in a relationship or the business results that you are getting that you can change them. It's only when you decide it's only when you decide you can no longer tolerate the amount of money you are making that you will begin to move forward your goal of making more money. If you are willing to tolerate something, that's probably what you're going to get. If you don't change your standards, then your goals are irrelevant. Many people fail or are miserable because they set standards that are too low for how they want to be treated. If you don't establish what your standards are and clearly define them, other people will undermine them simply because they aren't clear about what is acceptable to you and what is not. Sometimes this downwards push can unintentionally comfort well-meaning people in your life who may not be even be aware they are doing this to you. For example, if high standards and boundaries don't exist in between two people, the relationship will be troubled and often fail. Your relationship standards must be clearly defined and mutually agreed upon. Also, never tolerate treatments less than what you're worthy of. Set standards in your relationship with your spouse, boyfriend or girlfriend, business relationships, and anyone else in your life. Make those standards consistent with your self-worth. In business, an organization with a high standards in organization that is out of control. Each organization not performing at the peak capacity. As competitive as business is, there is a recipe for failure, and your business can every employee tell you what the organization's goals are and what the standards are to achieve those business goals. And just as important, can they live up to them? The greatest companies and dynastic sports teams always set the highest standards. Where you find your standards, you already have standards that define your life. Understanding where those standards came from is one of the steps to leveling up, leveling up, and creating higher standards that will lead you to change. Your standards should reflect the people you work with, your parents, family, friends, family members. My tongue's in kind of twisting. Yeah, it's kind of mumbling, so I don't know. Your church, your social media, news media, and the books you read. You have the other trouble influences as well. If you're an athlete, you idealize stars like Simon Biles. Okay, and you can never underestimate the music's power due to artists like Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Adele, Taylor Swift, and John Mayer, Post Malone, and Adam Smith. You may have even been influenced by one of the casual conversations you had with the strangers. By our nature, we are social creatures. We need input. We seek validation in our relationships. Most of us enjoy belonging to brighter groups of like-minded people. We like exchanging ideas and learning new things that grow and shape our perceptions. These perceptions influence our beliefs about our world, our community, our family, and most importantly, our own being. You can turn off these types of interactions. You'd wither and die. But you can be more aware of how these interactions shape what you think and how that defines you as a person. Make it a point to understand how they impact you from behavioral, moral, ethical, and a godly perspective. Think of your brain as a blender. Once you expose to different ideas, your brain takes all that input, whether you agree with it or not, and blends those thoughts and creates something new. You may completely reject new notions on the surface, but subsequently, your brain processes things over time. And you might change your way of thinking, perhaps in a way that leads you to the higher and more enlightened standards. The incoming information we receive daily is inevitable. To activate the change meant for you, there must be a conscious decision to take. Only what you think is valuable and apply it in a thoughtful way to create your unique standards. If you're lazy and go with the standards of people, places, groups, and the media, you're in the proximity with. You will get the same things as everyone else. That isn't the way you best life. Okay. Activating to higher standard. Are you happy with the amount of money you're currently making? Perhaps you've been stuck in a job that has paid for $75,000 a year for the past 3 years. You tell yourself, I want to make $100,000 next year. That's your goal. The question now becomes, how will I get there? And that's where standards come into play. Standards are the specific set of actions you must take to achieve your goal. In this case, you might need to increase the number of calls you make to clients and to take a business classes that add your value, making you a more attractive candidate for the promotion. You may need to come to work earlier, stay later, put in some time on Saturday, or find a new job that pays you what you think you're worth. Standards are most valuable when they're precious. Make a 20 calls and more per week on clients. Take classes that will lead you to a master's degrees in 18 months. Goals without standards are just a bunch of rudderless and a dozen words. They're only unattached desires that will never materialize unless you pair them with the right standards. If you create goals and fall short, it's because your standards are not congruent with your goals. Here's something else that is truly liberating. When you set the right standards that match your goals, your life becomes much less stressful. Your goals, while important, become secondary. They may sound a bit counterintuitive, that is the truth. For example, if you want to build a companionship team, what are the preparation standards you're willing to tolerate? What are the execution standards you're willing to tolerate? Then next level thinking and next level standards. It's also a championship standard. The difference is so subtle, but it separates the greatest of the all time from the rest of the world. Nine ways to set a higher standard. Setting clear and defined the higher standards is personal and unique to you, but there are some universal principles you can apply that will ensure you create a quality higher standards no matter what your goals are. Here are some things to consider. Understand your why. Unless you're clear on your motivation, you want to develop optimal standards for your goal. It's not different saying, I want to lose 50 pounds because it might be a good idea. No. The stronger and more specific your reasons are for doing something, the more likely you'll stick with your standards. Break down a higher standard into detailed and achievable steps. Don't say, I'm gonna get up and run a little while. Okay. Tell yourself, I'm going to run 8 miles in 3 days a week. Work with a trainer to create an optimal strength training routine that I will do 5 days a week. And I always change my diet to learn protein and plant-based menu. Be honest with yourself. If you take on the workout regimen about you are 55 years old and weigh 350 pounds, not only are you setting yourself up for failure, you're setting yourself up for 911 emergency. Don't let your ego run your mind when it comes to setting realistic goals and standards. Start at a place and it making sense for you. You can always upgrade your goals and standards, and once you start making progress, be measured and transparent with yourself when developing your standards. Get help in areas where you're weak. Find a workout buddy, enlist an assistant business mentor, listen to motivational tips and podcasts. Surround yourself with like-minded people on like-minded journey. Do whatever it takes to fortify your efforts. There are okay, sorry. There are going to be days and periods where you will waver, you will want to give up. That's normal. You may question if your goal is worth it. You may tell yourself that your standards are too high. Welcome to the human condition. This is where mental discipline comes in. Revisit your original motivation, understand what influences are holding you back, and then eliminate them if possible. Well-intentioned friends, family, and business and associates can be your biggest enemies because they are also your greatest allies. Like it or not, you care what they think, good and bad. They're part of your inner circle and they will constantly influence your thoughts and your actions. It's up to you to filter the messages that are positive or and meaningful to you. Don't be swayed to the lesser outcome simply because of familiarity. Worthy goals and corresponding standards are not supposed to be easy to reach. If your willpower wavers, double your efforts and give yourself the credit for being smart enough to recognize that you will have to work harder as part of your process. Use the technology to set and maintain your new standards. Not so long ago, self-improvement gurus preached that you needed to write down your goals, look in the bathroom mirror, and repeat those goals every day. You've come in a long way since then to optimize the possibility of being successful. Tap into technology to help you set and maintain your standards. Use your cell phone and computer to create a video of your goals and standards. Talk to yourself. Do it when you're in a focused and high energy state. That way, when you play it back, you are watching yourself in a peak state every time. Unlike only writing down your goals and standards, you will get the added boost in the auditory and the visual stimulation sent to your brain. Your brain's synapse plasticity will improve. When this happens, your brain is better able to flex and adapt, creating enhanced avenues for learning. You're watching the person you want to be. Think of it as you 2.0. Give dedicated thought to the relationship between your goal and your standard. Venus and Serena Williams didn't learn to play world-class tennis by going out after school and a couple of times a week and playing a friend a match here and there. Both women become highly accomplished tennis players because they spent thousands of hours in honing their skills, working on every little part of their game to eventually become legends in the game. They created standards commensurate with their goals of being the best tennis players in the world. When your standards does not match what you regard to meet your goal, you want properly motivated. If you set your standards beneath your capabilities, you want to feel challenged and you will lose your interest. Low standards produce low results. So why bother? Forget perfection. This is an absolute killer. Perfection is the lowest standard there is. And realistically, perfection doesn't exist. If you want to frustrate yourself and give up, assume that you must be perfect. Even the Williamson sisters have lost in plenty of matches along the way. Perfection is also boring. It's our flaws and it makes us an interesting, human, and relatable. Everybody has flaws, and those who think they don't have any are the ones who have the biggest flaws of all. Don't overthink it. Be diligent and thorough, but But for goodness sakes, get over yourself and get your bloody gear. I've seen thousands of people become their own worst enemy due to overthinking. I've seen so many people have great ideas for incredible business, only to tinker, devil, focusing on the minu- minutiae and the fizzle out before they even reach their starting line. Thinking is good, overthinking is bad. Set standards and please yourself. I covered this already, but it bears repeating simply because we are hardwired to please others. Be selfish when it comes to developing your standards. This is your journey. This does not belong to anyone else. It's personal. Keep it that way, or you're just not going to waste time without being mad so you don't buy into and end up in a worse shape than when you started. Okay, I love read Pitino take on this. Set higher standards for your own performance than anyone around you. And it won't matter whether you have tough balls or an easy one. It won't matter whether the competition is pushing you hard because you will competing with yourself. Raising your standard is an ongoing process. Nobody knows any better than you what your standard should be. That said, developing standards isn't always an easy proposition. If you're trying to break out and do something new, you might not have all the tools or knowledge you need to accurately access what standards you need to develop to reach your goals. The good news is they aren't set in stone. People often create it. People often create the standards they think are in line with what they need to reach their goals. However, as they gain experience and other values come into play, these dynamics can create a need to dial up to a higher standard. Your standards should be appropriately challenging. You will grow and change along the way, so you should review your goals and the highest standards regularly. When you've mastered a standard and met your goal, adjust upward. If you've been diligent in your efforts and something is starting to feel easy, you will know maybe it's time to set a different goal with the different standards once you accomplish what you want. But for the remarkable differences in your life, consider leveling up by creating higher standards that will propel you to even more worthy goals that end up based under what you've already done. Also, it's unhealthy to compare yourself to your standards to others. This is your journey and yours alone. Keep it that way. You have no clue what somebody else is going through, even when they tell you, especially when they tell you you are only going to hear what they want you to hear. When you compare, you're also tempted to adjust your standards downward to align with someone else's standards. That's unacceptable. It's a human nature to compare, but I'm telling you now, don't do it. Consider the alternative. Suppose you compare your standards to someone else and that you discover their standards are incredibly high when stacked against yours. In that case, you may be setting yourself up for a big psychological disappointment. It's a waste of time and it doesn't do one thing to move you closer to your desired outcomes. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is you. The consequences of higher standards. Change creates consequences. Change creates consequences. Setting higher standards creates consequences. When one more thinker set a higher standard, you will experience the consequences in good and bad. The good news is obvious. When your goals are aligned with your higher standards, you will enjoy a fuller and more blissful life. When you repeat your process in several areas of your life, you will experience a powerful transformation. Not only will you treat yourself better, you will treat others better too. Likewise, others will understand that you have a higher expectation of how you want to be treated, and they must will honor that expectation and they treat you with an added respect. However, some people in your circle will become jealous of your discipline and success. If they continue to know that you remain jealous, or if they can see that they can share and celebrate your success, you need to reconsider your relationship with those people. They will get over it soon enough, or as harsh as it may sound, you may need to let them go. As you develop higher standards, you will also enjoy more resilience. You will bounce back from the setbacks quicker. Your higher standards will become habits and replace the lesser standards that used to guide you. Even if you don't fully succeed, you will still fail at a higher level and land at a higher baseline. Once you dust yourself off, you will be in a better place to move onto new goals and other higher standards. Setting higher standards in your life is not easy, but to consider the alternative, if you aim low, set unworthy goals, and create uninspired standards, you will end up living life far below what you're capable of and far below what you deserve. Okay, that's enough. Okay, good job, Irene.